tell me that my mom exists.
The other question is, while it's fine, we do usually ask people, what do you believe and why? And you're very good at explaining what you believe, and yet I have no understanding yet, even, as long as we've been on the call, I have yet understanding why you believe it. None whatsoever. Why do you believe these things that you believe? What makes you think they're true?
When you were Christian, why did you believe it?
Because I was indoctrinated to believe it.
Because people said sermons that said it was real and made you sign statements of faith and
it was
told
the same
you to,
reason
to
that
pray to
children
stuff.
believe in Santa Claus. The only difference was that I was engulfed in a whole society and my parents really believed it. So that what happened was I was surrounded by people that at no point in my childhood said, okay, we're about to tell you now Santa's not real. They don't do that with Jesus with you or with this doctrine with you. And so what happens is you end up embroiled in a culture of adults who believe this stuff because they've never thought about it and never questioned it. And the fact that you keep giving us what you believe, which is fine, we're interested in what you believe, but you seem to not provide why you believe it. What makes you believe that this is actually true?
I'll tell you that my church would hate you.
That's
if
fine.
you were to compare God to Bigfoot or Santa Claus.
I don't care. I don't care if they would hate me. I don't care at all.
That's one reason why I haven't gone to your church.
It doesn't matter to me, though, how they would feel about me. What I'm wondering is why they believe that what they believe is true. I don't care what they feel about me. I don't care what their beliefs are at this point, because we've heard plenty of what they believe, but I have not heard one bit about how they justify it as true.
It's not science. It's not experiments.
Right.
But what,
like that.
What is the justification for believing that this is true?
Over something else. I mean, what would you say to a Jehovah's Witness or something who thought that you were completely wrong?
Well, we don't usually talk to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, I mean, maybe that's your problem. Maybe you're so worried that that you're going to be led down a path of lies that you haven't stopped to consider that other people might have valuable input.
I have a question, just a real quick, and this is just sort of a more interesting thing from my perspective. You said before that you don't usually talk about these things with people. I think you said that early on in the call. And then you just said you don't talk to Jehovah's Witnesses. I was raised in a very fundamentalist church, and one of the things we were very big on was saving unbelievers, especially people we thought who were in error. I mean, I was preaching all the time everywhere I went. Anybody I thought was wrong, I would engage them. And you seem to be telling me that that's not your policy. And yet the Bible indicates, well, the Bible indicates that you should be seeking and saving the lost.
We send people to Africa. We send people all over the world. We fly them. We fund them, we pray for them, we equip them, that means teach them the message.
But you personally would not engage a Jehovah's Witness even though you think they're going to go to hell if you don't save them. Is that correct?
We do global missions.
But if a Jehovah's Witness came to your door, you would not engage them? You would let them run off and just burn in hell, according to your doctrine. And that wouldn't bother you at all?
We try, but what I mean is, at my church, we all have the same beliefs.
Sure. That's why you're a denomination or a non-denominational group.
So we don't do this sort of thing very much. We don't usually have debates at my church.
Not within the church, I understand, but it seems like you would
try.
I mean, when I was a fundamentalist Christian, I was proselytizing as much as I could to anybody that would listen.
I have to throw out Matt's favorite verse because he would want to if he was here. 1 Peter 3:15 says, "In your hearts acknowledge Christ as the Holy Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have." So, I mean, it seems to me that if you wanted to follow the Bible religiously, so to speak, you would want to go out and engage people and tell them the reasons that you think.
We do that a lot. What I mean is, I fund these things. I don't actually do them. I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect. And I don't always have the confidence to preach, to convert people myself. But the church funds it, so I pay for this.
So he sees this as sort of like a group command.
Can I ask you, what is your role in the church? I mean, I've actually been personally curious because you've called 3 times now, and I'm not sure if you're like like in a leadership position or if you're sort of a one of these other.
No, it's a member of the church. I'm not a preacher.
That's fine.
Or.
What's your relation? What's your relation to these kids who are becoming fans, to your chagrin? How well do you know them? Your friend's kids.
He's a member in the church, and this is the church's children.
Have you talked to the kids yourself and see what they say? I mean,
well, they watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
They're watching
the videos. Someone sent them the videos on YouTube, and they watched them.
Have they seen the other videos where you called?
Yeah, they're watching right now.
Oh,
okay,
hi,
well,
kids.
Good. Yeah, hey, shout out.
They always tell me, they say, sometimes they don't. When we talk to them, they're how do I say this? They're really proud of Matt. They think Matt will answer the question.
Well,
so maybe they don't. We ask them about evolution. They say, "Well, ask Matt. He'll tell you." Or call in, ask Matt. He'll tell you. Or they show us a video when Matt tells them. But we want. So they just use Matt. They don't think for themselves.
For the record, since I'm in a position now to give a message to those kids, I think that you should actually go and study the science and not rely on an authority figure.
Absolutely, I agree.
Because you should study the scientific evidence and figure it out for yourself, and you should seriously consider the sermons coming out of your church. And figure out, if you think they don't make sense, maybe you should engage Mark in a conversation and tell him what you think of them, not what Matt thinks of them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And Mark, let me just say that, on this, I think Russell's right on. And if this is your concern, I would agree with you. I don't think that the kids, even though children I do think require leadership, I would never want a child to be replacing blind faith in one thing for blind faith in another.
Especially not Matt.
So I don't think that anybody should be watching our show and just simply, believing everything that comes out of Matt's mouth or any one of the co-hosts or anybody on this program. My goal, and I've told people this a lot, they'll say something about why do you want people to follow you? And I say, I don't ever want anyone to follow me. That's not my goal. I want them to think for themselves and to, figure this out. That's definitely the goal. And so on that, I think we're all 3 agreed.
Yeah, and don't believe what I say.
I don't think that they should be punished so harshly. I think they should be allowed to watch the videos, but other parents are pretty strict, and they grounded their kids and don't let their kids go on the internet to watch these videos because they're scared. They think Jesus should be their hero, not Matt.
Well, if I can offer some constructive criticism as a parent, I think that is probably, if they're really worried about their kids coming back to their side, that's probably the worst thing they can do. I'm not going to offer suggestions about how they can come back to Christianity because obviously I don't care. But I think that if I treated my kid that way, if I said, you may not watch this, you may not go on the internet, you may not listen to these atheists, the first reaction a teenager would have is, what are they hiding?
Well, some churches don't even let their kids read Harry Potter.
Yeah, and I think that's equally as absurd.
I think that's too strict.
Right.
I think that we might agree, Matt. Since Mark, since you're saying that you're not sure that they shouldn't be allowed to watch the program, I always think that a better alternative, especially if the parents have good reasons for what they believe, it seems like this would be an opportunity for them to allow the children to watch the program, perhaps watch it with them, and then explain to the kids where the reasoning is incorrect or where the evidence is, pointing somewhere different than where someone here might be saying it. And so they could actually engage their children in a conversation, explain why they're right and why this program is incorrect, and that way rebut the show there with the children. And it almost makes me wonder and I understand this isn't all the parents in your congregation, it's just some of them, but it makes me wonder if those parents might not have raised children by modeling just blind faith and following without questioning, because it seems like the kids definitely have that attitude according to what you're describing. And it sounds like if the parents had good reasons for what they believed, they wouldn't be threatened by someone telling their kids something incorrect, because then they would be able to point out the errors in what's being said and demonstrate to the children that in fact what they're saying as the parent is correct.
You're right, but you're naive, because they'll never watch the videos with the kid.
Well, then it sounds to me like
I
the
agree
people
with
you
you
should
that they
be talking
won't.
to are the parents and not the kids or us.
Yeah, I agree with you that they won't. I just think that's a bad parental policy, and it makes me wonder if the parents themselves aren't responsible for their children's attitude of just believing whatever someone says, because it sounds like these parents themselves don't have good reasons for what they believe, or they'd be able to offer that to their kids and not be threatened by someone telling their children something different.
Maybe you should convince the pastors in your church to do some sermons about effective parenting strategies and engaging with what your kids are involved with instead of burying their heads in the sand.
Yeah, I guess you went to church, so you know that it's not a debate society.
Correct. But you also understand, I understand that it's not a debate society for the parents, but when you're raising the children and they're trying to make determinations, there definitely has to be discussion. I mean, those children are not members yet, I'm assuming, or some of them might be wavering. It seems like at the point that you have young people who are making decisions about whether or not to join the church and become a member, that it would require some discussion at that point with the children. I mean, I understand that the adult members who have joined are all in agreement, but clearly the kids who are being raised are being encouraged to join, but many of them probably have not yet.
Well, you see, my church believes that if your kids leave the church, that's really bad.
Oh no, I understand what you believe on that. I do get it. But what I'm saying is that just means to me, when you said the church group itself is not a debate society, believe me, I understand that the preacher's not going to get up there and give a sermon to convince people a God exists, because everybody at your church already accepts that. But
they would sooner disown their kids, kick them out of the house, than sit and watch the Atheist Experience.
It seems to me that that's what's probably going to wind up happening.
Yeah, I think those
nobody's
children
going to benefit.
Going to have the worst time of it.
I wonder, how come none of these kids have called up yet?
Some of them have.
Yeah, they might have.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are out in the audience,
emailed.
If you guys are out in the audience, you should call and let us know that you're a member of Mark's church, so that we can get your perspective on this too.
Except I would just want to put a word in. Don't do that if you think you're going to suffer any kind of parental repercussions.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
After what Mark just said about some parents might rather disown you, I don't want you calling up and having your voice recognized and get you into trouble.
Right.
So don't call unless you think that it's okay, with your parents, or that it's not going to cause a problem for you.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd welcome any other members of your church, as well as you, to call in any time, including the parents who hate us and think we're disgusting, including the pastors who you say are much more persuasive than you, and including the kids who enjoy watching us. We'd like to hear from as many perspectives as we can.
Yeah,
they wouldn't call because they'd worry, but they'd email probably, so it was just private.
Well, if you email me,
no way their parents could find out.
If you email, also let us know you're a member of Mark's church. All right, I think we've taken over half the show, and you're welcome to call back another week, Mark. And as always, enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Okay, God bless you.
Thanks.
Thank you for thinking that we'll do something.